Hello, Atlassian developers, and welcome to our YouTube channel for another Forge DevDin. I'm Danielle Laregi. I'm a developer advocacy manager of Forge, and I have my co-host here with me, Ion. Hello, Ion. Oh, let me
Hey
make you a little
everyone.
bit bigger there. There we go.
Hello,
Hey,
thanks
how you doing
Danielle.
today?
Welcome to another DevDen. I'm doing good. Hope
Oh,
everyone
yeah,
else
we
is
couldn't.
doing good.
Yeah, we couldn't have a Forge DevDin without the resident host. How is things going in the Philippines?
Ooh, it's early morning. It's been raining since last week, but everything's good. And you?
Okay. Everything's going good. It's a little bit later over here, so the sun's starting to set, but we've had no rain, which has been good. Had some flooding rains yesterday, so very happy to not have the rain. We have an exciting topic, empowering Jira admins through Rovo and Forge. Are you excited about our topic, Ion?
Oh, yes. It's been a really hot topic. A lot of people are talking about this one, even on socials.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess
Mm-hmm.
let's introduce the team.
All right, but before we introduce the team, I have a couple of announcements for those of you that are tuning in to our Dev Den. The first one is Team EU. We are going to be at Team EU, and Ion, you're going to be planning some awesome Forge workshops at Team EU, aren't you?
Yes. Actually, I'm gonna drop the link in the chat
Okay.
so you can check it out. But as always,
Okay.
in the past team events, we're going to do some
Mhm.
Forge workshops. It's going to be a full day workshop talking about Forge, both beginners and intermediate.
Yeah, I'm excited. This will be my very first Team EU as a new employee to Atlassian. So really excited. And once again, if you're thinking about joining us, make sure you join us in Barcelona. And I would love to see you all there for our Forge beginner and advanced workshops. Another
It's going to be
thing that I
fun.
want to it is going to be so much fun. Another thing I want to highlight is we have a new learning path out for Forge. Our teammate Mel worked on this, so you can learn all about Forge. It's a great beginner trail. I already got all 3 of my badges. Did you do the trail, Ion? Have you done it yet?
Ooh, are you putting me on the spot right now?
I
Not
am.
yet. Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm sure to
All
take it.
right. All right. Well, don't forget to do this. Get the most out of Forge workshop learning path, and I believe we do have a link. You can take a picture of this as well, but also be sure to check the chat for the link as well. And finally, we want you to join our amazing developer community. So, our developer community is an awesome community. We have a community page where developers can interact, they can chat, ask questions, get their questions answered. You can learn a lot, like some of our learning paths, and you can also find out about our events that are going to be happening. We're going to be going around the world hosting these awesome developer days on Forge. So, make sure you do that. Now, I'm ready to introduce
All
our
right.
speakers that we have today. All right, let's first go with Jen. Hello there, Jen. How are you doing?
Hi, folks. I'm excited to be here today.
You're excited for you to be here. You want to give a little introduction of yourself to those
Sure.
watching in?
Yeah, so I am a principal enterprise technical architect with the advisory services team. I've been with
Mhm.
Atlassian for about 4 years, and I have over 25 years of experience in IT, spanning DevOps, agile coaching, product management, and of course, Jira administration. Fun fact about me, I can say the alphabet backwards in under 10 seconds.
Oh wow! I won't put you to the
Wow.
test. Should we put her on the spot? I don't know if we should put her on the spot. Maybe next time we'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, maybe next time.
I'll have a timer
That sounds
ready
really
too.
cool.
um, that might be hard to follow. Alex, hello, Alex. How are you doing today, Alex?
Doing great. Oh,
You want
I
to
muted myself
introduce
there. Doing
yourself?
great. Yeah, I'm Alex Gallion. I am currently working on a new team called Technical Adoption Solutions, focusing on Rovo implementation for all of our customers. This is a change as of about a week ago. Previously was on Jen's team, advisory services, also as an enterprise technical architect. Been working in the Atlassian space for about 10 years. Been worked for a partner, worked on the Jira support team for Atlassian for a couple of years. Was a Jira administrator and conference administrator for Airbnb for about 6 years, and now been back to Atlassian. So love working with this stuff, seeing all sides of the Atlassian world, and super excited to talk to everyone today.
Awesome. We're great. It's great having you here. We're super excited to have you. And we have our Forge Queen. We cannot forget Katarina. Hello, Forge Queen. And she has a little crown.
Yeah. So but we 3D printed this yesterday.
Uh-oh. Katarina, I think you're coming through a bit robotic for us, Katarina. Yeah. Is it? I think, Katarina, your volume's starting to come through a little bit robotic. Maybe it might be the AirPods. Yeah, I think it might be the AirPods. Or is she coming through robotic for you guys too? Or no? Yes, coming through robotic.
It's a bit. Yep.
Okay.
Possibly the AirPods.
Yeah, possibly the AirPod, Katarina. Sorry. All right, let's try again, Katarina. There we go.
What this?
No. Oh. All right. We'll come back to you, Katarina. All right. We'll try. We'll come back. But Forge Queen, we saw the crown. Very much appreciated. We are not worthy. Thanks for joining us. All right. So who is going to kick us off with the presentation? Jen, are you kicking us off? All right. Jen, there we go. And you can, there we go. Oh, Jen, I think you were muted. Right. There you go.
All right. I think we're good now. Okay.
We're good.
So we're really excited to be here today and share with you our latest Ship It Hackathon project, which is a Forge Rovo agent that helps administrators more efficiently and effectively manage their Jira governance. So in today's session, we're going to be looking at common governance concerns we see in Jira Cloud environments and how we use that quarterly hackathon event to quickly build a solution using the superpowered combination of Forge and Rovo. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to post them in the chat, and Danielle or Ian will bring them to our attention. So if you only get one thing out of today's session, we hope it's to inspire you to unleash the power of Forge and Rovo together to solve problems and reduce manual steps. So how did we come up with this idea in the first place? Well, Advisory Services provides consultative, outcome-focused guidance to help customers reach their business objectives by leveraging the Atlassian ecosystem. And we regularly work with large organizations that struggle with application governance. In a self-hosted environment, this often results in performance degradation, but in the cloud, there's no hard guidelines on the number of custom fields you can have or the number of issues and projects, because the storage and processing can be scaled up to handle the load. It still affects efficiency in some areas, though, and we're going to look at some of those today. So a couple of common governance pitfalls we frequently see are custom field sprawl, where too many people have administrative access and have created multiple custom fields for similar purposes, or there may be fields that just aren't used anymore. And inconsistent labeling. Anyone can create labels, which inevitably leads to a huge number of unique labels. We come across labels that are spelled slightly differently or even use different terms for the same meaning. Sometimes we see labels that are spelled the same but have different capitalization, and those are still considered unique. Without strong guidance on naming conventions and regular grooming, your list of labels will get out of hand quickly. But so what? Why do we care if it doesn't slow down our Jira projects? Okay, does this look familiar? How many of you have tried to create a filter or add a column to a filter results list and discovered that there's multiple custom fields with the same name? How do you know which one to choose? You could just try each one, but that wastes time and is really frustrating. And the more custom fields you have, the slower your bulk update processing will run when you're trying to change a bunch of work items at once. Or what about this? Maybe you've started to add a label to your work item and discovered that there's many different versions of the same label. You could choose just one, but what if someone's created a filter based on the other ones? Do you have to add them all? These inconsistencies can cause even more problems. What if a custom field is used in a critical downstream report, but teams are using different fields for that data point? When I was a technical program manager, I used to have to create status reports on cross-functional projects that had different schemas and figure out how to normalize that information when teams were using different fields to represent the same data, or different statuses to represent the same state in a workflow. And it was really a colossal waste of time. What about automation, though? If you've got a global automation rule that's checking for a specific label, then your rule might just not run. And if it's looking for the value of a custom field that doesn't exist on one project's screen scheme, it'll throw errors and spam the rule owner with those messages. But governance challenges aren't just about the hassles that they cause to engineering team managers or project managers. Misidentified data and inaccurate records can result in enormous consequences for businesses, such as misaligned dependencies, inaccurate financial reporting, missed opportunities, and even compliance failures or security breaches. So now that we understand the scope of the problem and the challenges it can create, let's dive into how to solve it and get to the fun stuff. So the best solution, again, for these problems is to adopt a strong application governance model when Jira is first incorporated into your tooling ecosystem. But it's not something people usually think about when they're first onboarding to the platform. People usually don't think about this until the lack of governance starts to cause problems. So as a Jira admin, how can we easily identify these duplicate fields and labels, especially if they use different words that mean the same thing? Through the magic of AI, of course. Rovo, harnessing the power of large language models, can quickly and easily identify all of those different but similar custom fields and labels. And by pairing Rovo with Forge, we can capture the items that need to be consolidated along with instructions on the best method for doing so, and automatically create a Jira issue to track the work. So now Alex is going to demonstrate the solution we built. We're going to switch over to Alex.
Maybe switch over.
Yes, sorry. 1 second, Alex.
Yeah.
And right before we switch over to you, Alex, I just wanted to give a call out to a few people that are saying hello in the chat to you all. So let's say hello to a few of the people that joined us on stream. So hello there, Brian Guffey. We see you. And we also have a hello from Odil. Hello, Odil. And if any of you guys want to just tell us where you're joining from in chat, that would be fun as well. So go ahead, Alex.
All right. So yeah, let's see this agent in action here. So we're going to get into all the details of how we built this and such, but I think it'd be fun just to sort of see what it does first. So selected the agent already here, and we have the functionalities that Jen described here, 1, 2, and 3. So let's analyze some custom fields and see what the output looks like. So what it's doing on the back end right now is make an API call to Jira's REST API to pull a list of custom fields, organize it in a JSON object, and then parse that to generate this report. So you can see here, we've got 2 fields named impact, provide the custom field ID here to make it easy possible to make the changes in the future. Bunch of different fields relating to employees, several different team fields, multiple story point fields, a lot of different suggestion fields that we could potentially merge here. And then at the bottom, providing a link to instructions on how to fix this yourself. And then alternatively, we can also create an issue, but let's take a look at labels first. So similarly, making a REST API call on the back end to Jira. So that full list of custom fields and labels isn't available to Rovo without sort of building that data set.
And Alex, what you're showing us is super, super awesome. Could you zoom in just a slight bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
That text just a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's perfect.
Better?
Thank you,
Yeah,
Alex.
okay, great, absolutely. Cool, so a little bit of different formatting here. We didn't put this one in a table, but similarly, these are all different labels that have to do with the completion status, 2 different ways to say duplicates, a bunch of different spellings and capitalations of escalation, these regions. Obviously, this is all contrived data in a test environment here, but it's definitely identifying all the different sort of major ways that the labels could be sort of expressing the same thing or similar related. Then similar to the custom fields, provide instructions on how to clean up some of the named labels. We don't have any public facing knowledge on this, so I just wrote this out myself. And so, yeah, let's create an issue. So agent asks if we'd like to create an issue with this reports data. Yes, please create an issue. I should probably say work item because that is the term now. And so this is a step that we've been working on. When you have an action, you define inputs to that action. And we are trying to automate the assignment of that and still have a little difficulties. This is all relatively new functionality that's been added to Rovo. So I'm working with the product teams to figure out the best way to do this. But the workaround is just to say, use your last response exactly. So it's going to think about this for a little bit. And I'm going to say confirm. All right, it's created in the Gov project. Here we go, redundant label cleanup. And so there's definitely a few things that we could improve here. The formatting is not exactly right. I think using an API to convert it into the Atlassian document format would make it better. But you could have this run on the schedule, provide you a report, monthly of things to clean up. There's a lot of different ways you can sort of operationalize this. So what does the prompting look like? So because this is a very expressive keyboard, yes, I need to have a light touch here. We've got a couple of mechanical keyboard enthusiasts on this call here. Okay, so given that this is a Forge-based Rovo agent, the prompt is going to live in a manifest file, and Katarina is going to get into the details on that in a little bit here. But I wanted to break down the prompt itself and sort of how we're giving these agents the instructions to do these tasks. So we start out giving it a high-level overview of what it should do. You're collecting data, providing a report, and then asking if you want to create an issue with it. We then move on to define the jobs that it can do, as well as some kind of structural instructions on how the prompt is organized. So delineating a prompt using the triple dash there is a good way to make sure that the LLM is aware that it's a specific section that should be separated from the others. So next up, we have the labels job. So, this lines up with what we have in the previous step. And we start out naming the exact action, the way that our conversation prompt starter has. We're going to use the get labels action to fetch a list of labels. Then break down what we consider duplicated labels and the rules to follow. Then the kind of formatting instructions on how to group them and display them. Next up, we give the text to display at the end, cleanup instructions, and then the instructions on how to create a Jira issue with it. Next up, for the custom fields, very similar structure here. We're going to align the name of the field with, or the name of the action rather, with the conversational prompt for it. We're then going to use the get custom fields action to build that list of custom fields, define the rules in which we are going to use to compare them, group them. In this case, a little more detailed than the last one because we are using a table here. There's an issue with Rovo rendering tables with bullet points in them for a while, which I think is resolved now, but I had to explicitly remove bullet points from the tables. And then sending the instructions to fix it, and finally creating the issue. Then the last section here is how it self-identifies. So if you ask what it can do, I decided to give some hard-coded text to tell you exactly what the functionalities are. Finally, when you saw me open up the conversation with the agent, you could see that there were some kind of generic questions that were prompted. That's also defined in this manifest file, along with some other things that Katarina will walk us through now.
Yeah, just really quickly before we start with Katarina, I want to call out some of the fun places that people are joining us from. So we have Ajay here joining us from India. We have Brandon here joining us from Vietnam. Thanks, Brandon, for joining us. Brian's joining us from Rosemont, California. Terry from Adelaide, and Anne from North Dallas area. So right over here. And also Chicago, Esther, Montreal. Hello, Jonathan. And we have another Alex here joining us from Miami. How cool. How cool. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And now go ahead and take it away, Forge Queen.
Thank you. So a couple of notes, and I know that you're probably all waiting to see the code, but I have a few things to say. First of all, is my mic okay now?
Yes, you're fine.
Great. Perfect. So hi everyone, I'm always very happy to present, and I'm glad I can see some familiar names and some new names in the chat. So thank you very much for joining. I have one thing, Alex, to your point. So you mentioned the workaround, so how to get the analysis as part of the description of the ticket. And you show that in 2 steps. So the first step was saying in the prompt, hey, please create an issue. And then the LLM Rovo was saying, oh, what do you want me to be in the issue? So then you said the issue analysis. I think you can actually do that in one single step. So when you say, hey, can you please create an issue with the previous content, with the issue analysis as the content. So I wanted to point that out. I see you are nodding, Alex. So cool. Thank you, Jan and Alex, for your presentation. It's always awesome to understand the use case and also see a demo. And I think there was no one better than you to do this. And I'm also like a big supporter of Ship It and innovation as well. So thank you for joining this Ship It and for building this with me, which, I mean, we got a praise from Anu, the Atlassian president, about this. So yay, good job. Okay, now that's the end of my intro. Let's get into the technical details. So you can see the link in the chat. Thank you for sharing that. So what you're going to see and find in that link is the manifest file, so the entire manifest, as well as the single JavaScript file that is used for this app. What I'm going to show you in my section is the architecture of the app, the manifest, and I'm going to walk you through the manifest and the code of the app. So let's get started with the architecture. I hope we all agree it's not too complex. So it all starts with the user or automation, because Rovo agents can also be used in automation. Maybe we have a link for that as well, Ian. So the user or the automation are going to send a request to Rovo. This is not the official logo, but it's a good one. I like puppies, and this was not intentional, but here you have another puppy. So Rovo is then going to invoke the get labels action, which is defined in our manifest. The agent action is then going to run a Jira REST API, which is the get labels one. If you're a Jira admin, you might be already familiar with the Jira APIs. Forge uses exactly the same APIs that you're used to. But it makes it simpler for you because you don't need to authenticate, you don't need API tokens, it's all managed by your app. So the authentication is done automatically, transparently for you by the app. So then we have the Jira REST API that is invoked, and it returns the data to our Rovo agent. And then there is this step, which is you asking for user confirmation. So Rovo can't create, can't interact with the data, can't write data, can't create issues or work items on its own without the user confirmation. So that's why we get the user confirmation, which is what Alex was showing us. And once the user confirms that the intention is to create a work item, Rovo will invoke the create Jira issue action, which is defined in the manifest. And based on that, it's going to call another API, another Jira API, which is the post issue, which will create the Jira issue. I'm going to post this on the link as well that was shared earlier, so you'll get an idea of the architecture at a high level as well. So moving on, let's have a look at the manifest. And this is the same link as before. I just wanted to have it on as many slides as possible in case someone just joined right now or like missed the previous one and now got like all interested in this. So, and now I'm going to walk you through the manifest. At the same time, if you want to open this on your screen, and follow it on your screen, if that's your preferred option, feel free to go ahead while I show you some screenshots. So this is the manifest. This is the shorter version of the manifest, meaning that to try to have everything in one single screen, I removed some of the LLM instructions. The LLM instructions can actually be defined in a separate file, so they don't need to be in the manifest. And I would say that's probably my recommendation when you're building a Rovo agent in Forge, so that you can separate like the prompt from the logic of the app. It's optional. We didn't do it, but if you're building this for a production usage, I would probably recommend to move the prompt to a different file. And the reason why I wanted to show you this in one single screenshot is because it's pretty short. So if we remove the prompt entirely, it's probably around like 40 lines. And I like short files. I like short manifest, I like short JavaScript code, and the reason why I say that is because short in my mind usually means simpler. So if I was showing you now like a file which was like 300 lines, you would be probably like, ooh, that's complicated. No, my opinion is it's not. It's short, so it's easy. In my opinion as well, Forge is easy. So I think every Atlassian admin can pick up Forge pretty quickly. And we would be happy to help you on your journey with all the resources that Danielle shared at the beginning. So let's keep going. So we were talking about the get labels. So get labels is actually in the prompt. So in the prompt, we tell the Rovo agent to call an action, which is get labels. Here, you want to have exactly the same wording, exactly the same spelling as you are going to then define in the actions. So the actions are still part of the prompt section in the manifest, and it's what's telling Rovo out of all the LLM, out of all the prompt that you have defined, to pay attention to the actions, because this word is exactly when they need to do something else, when they need to call what we call a forge function. So the forge function is then defined here with the same key that is defined as action in the prompt. So blue is the actions, function is green. Green becomes our forge app function. So our forge function, which is the get labels one, is then defined in the index file. So if you create a forge app from a template, the main file is going to be called index, and we didn't rename it for our innovation project. In production, you would probably rename it, but it works even if you leave it as index. So index is the file name, which is available in the source folder, and get labels is the name of the JavaScript function. So get labels here, it's the JavaScript function. So purple, file name, orange, function. Everyone still following? Yes. Cool. So now let's look at the code itself. What I want to point out, again, I don't have a screenshot for that, is that the entire code of this app is 242 lines. I counted it before starting the presentation today, and 242 is just for the get labels and for the creation of the issue. It doesn't include the custom fields, that's like a few extra lines. But those 242 lines that you can check at the link are actually probably the relevant ones are probably 1/3 of that. I added a lot of comments to the code, and comments are more than the actual code. So again, short file. I think also let's look into that and let's see if it's intuitive for a Jira admin. And actually, I would love to know in the chat how many Jira admins we have. If you want to share it, what's your role? How did you find out about this? I have so many questions. Okay, but I'll keep going. So it all starts with our get labels function, and the get labels function is simply calling a REST API, and it's the Jira labels REST API label, no S, which I'm highlighting here. This is only retrieving, so most of the Jira REST APIs are paginated when you are retrieving data. So the code you see right now on screen is just retrieving the first page, and the parameters start at, it starts with the 0, and max results is 50, which is the default. The next page, the next slide that I have, is actually showing you how to do the pagination, and so that you can retrieve all labels. And the reason why I'm sharing it is because I've heard many feedback about, oh, pagination can look scary. I just want to set max results to 1000. I'm opinionated, and I think pagination is easy once you've seen an example, and it's also the best way to proceed, because at some point Jira is, with a very technical term, is not going to like it if you just set these max results like to 2,000, 10,000. You can't go as high as you want. So pagination is the way to go, and here you have an example. So at the end of our get labels function, what we are doing is we are returning all the labels back to our Rovo agent. So when you saw earlier from Alex, all the analysis being done, that was because we sent to the agent all the labels that have been found, and then the prompt analyzed those and formatted them based on the prompt results. Yeah. So, and the next step is actually to create the Jira work item. So we are here in the create Jira issue function, and what we are doing here is there is a parameter that is being passed to our function, and that parameter is the payload. And in the payload, we have one extra parameter, which is the issue analysis. So in the manifest configuration, this is the input parameter on the function. So you have the extra input because of the configuration of your app and of your agent, which is the issue analysis, and that's been passed as part of the payload to the function as defined in the manifest. So we are using this issue analysis in the body data of our REST API. So this is our body data, and here we have, as part of the content, the issue analysis. And sorry, this content is part of the description. I'm using the REST API version 3, so I need to define the description as ADF. So this might look like a bit more complicated than if you have been using the version 2 of the APIs for some time, but this is the way to go, and I hope an example is going to help you. So we are creating the Jira work item with the Rovo issue analysis retrieved from the first step. And creating a Jira work item is as simple as calling the REST API 3 issue with the post method and as body, the body we saw in the previous slide. That's it, I'm done.
Okay, well, Katerina, we did have a couple of answers to your question in the chat, and we have Brian Guffey, who is a Jira admin here for 17 years, that also said that they are a burgeoning developer and they found out from you. Okay, oh look, there's little reactions. I didn't even know we had reactions on here. And Jess G also said that they are a Jira admin. And just this week, they built a Forge app and created some test Rovo agents, and it has been awesome. Yay, go Jess G. That is super awesome. We love to hear that. Oh, there's even more reactions. And Esther has been a Jira admin for 13 years, former developer, and hopefully a future Forge developer. So we are really, really excited. Thank you for sharing that with us. A Bite with Lena says that they are learning a lot. So thank you, A Bite with Lena. I want to go back to actually an earlier question that was asked. And I think this actually in reference to something you were presenting, Alex, earlier. And on, if you are still here, you might have to elaborate on this, but On from LinkedIn said, so is this going to vibe code the configuration change in Forge? Does Forge perform delete, destroy metadata? Anybody want to take this question?
So we intentionally did not configure this agent to have the ability to update or delete anything. It's solely about identifying the potential offenders and then providing all the information you would need to script out that change on your own. in theory, you could write a big long API call that did all the things to clean this up. But given, especially for custom fields and labels, they're almost certainly used somewhere in the system. You don't even want to break automations. Like, it's not something you can just sort of do an unattended fix. There's a social aspect of understanding what things are being used for, talking to your teammates, and understanding what can be deprecated and what can't. In general, I mean, Forge can do updates to fields on work items and stuff. So in theory, like, it could just delete data on a field on a given like work item or something like that. But generally speaking, there's guardrails in place to prevent it from going run away and deleting everything in your Jira instance. If anyone else has anything they'd like to add on that, feel free to jump in.
I think from my perspective, like, I would love to know from our participants, like, if they would like the Rovo agent to delete, I wouldn't say destroy, maybe delete some of the labels, because that's totally possible. We didn't do it, I think, because, like, especially you, Jan and Alex, like, you work like mainly with big customers, so they might be a bit more like sensitive on this topic. They might want to, like, you talked about governance, so they might not actually want it, but nothing is really stopping anyone from doing the next step and deleting labels right away.
Yeah, I would actually caution people against doing that, having it automated like that, because you don't necessarily know all of the downstream effects. So if other people have created filters that you don't see or you don't have access to, then it can break those filters, and filters can be used in dashboards or Scrum boards or any number of places. So I would probably not encourage people to automatically delete things.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that.
I have something more.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Katarina.
But actually, with a Forge app, like, you could even, like, check all the downstream effects. Like, we have REST APIs for checking the filters. So as much as you want to elaborate on this app, like, you could do it. All the REST APIs are available. We built this in like 24 hours. I think that's the official shipping time. Ooh. So we didn't have time to include all the use cases, but I mean, why not? It might even be like a good improvement to check the filters containing the label.
Yes, no, absolutely. However, it would only work if you have access to all the filters. So you may not have access to every filter. People can create filters and make them, not visible to everyone. So, yeah,
I love the brainstorming here because actually the app has access. I think the app has access to all the filters if you run it as app, not as user.
If you ran as app,
yeah. Well,
but
we do have another question here in the chat as well. So here's one from also Jess G. Are there any plans to expose an inbound Rovo API for chat responses? It would be really useful to tap into that externally. For example, enabling agent-to-agent communication with an internal LLM. Does anyone happen to know about this? Yes,
I do. I have a link that I'm trying to find. Give me a minute, unless Adam has the link or wants to jump in.
Yes. Oh, we do have Adam now. So everyone say hello to
Surprise.
Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hi.
Surprise. hiding.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm one of the product managers here at Atlassian. And yeah, so to answer that question, no, we don't currently have sort of an inbound REST API exposed at the moment that you can just send a prompt to and get a Rovo answer back. I know lots of people are keen for it, but there is just a few complications we need to work through to make that possible. So unfortunately, I can't give you any sort of dates or plans on when something like that might be available.
Well, you could kind of hack it together with automation, couldn't you? Like you
True,
could
you
set
could
up
do.
an automation that's triggered by a webhook, and then have it call the agent, capture the agent response, and return the agent response in another webhook out to.
Just save it as a comment on a Jira work item and just have them comment back and forth. Like you could have another outbound rule when a comment is added by this user, then send it. You could totally hack it out of Jira.
Yeah.
Would not be clean. Probably don't recommend it for a production use case, but in theory, you could do it. But I would love to personally see kind of what we're doing in terms of that space too, because that is something that came up recently in a conversation with a customer for me too.
Okay.
Yeah, we could use an automation webhook, Brenda. Just the facilitating the communication back and forth might be tricky, but I think it is. I think it would be possible.
We have one more question in here, which is, what was the process to bring a Rovo agent to a web app? Is that possible? If yes, any session available on how to do that? Our web app system will allow endpoints and API keys in order to create an agent.
So that's sort of the same question, I guess. So we would need to have that API for an external web app to be able to call into Rovo. And so you could try the sort of automation workaround at the moment, but we don't have a direct REST API for it yet.
Okay, thanks for that. And then one other one. So the Rovo can show how many filters can be affected by changing or deleting the label we found within search.
Yeah, in theory, it absolutely can. We would use, like everything else with the Jira REST API, the filters endpoint, I believe, has a search post that you can use, and you would just do a search for that string label equals or labels in, and you probably have to do some regular expressions or something like that, but totally could do matching on that and generate a list of that. So, it's just running whatever JavaScript code you write. You can be very creative with what the actions actually do.
And another question, how much is this available how much of this is applicable for Align? A little tongue twister there.
Great question.
The answer is natively not very much right now.
Yeah.
Okay. This is one potential use case that I've spoken with one customer for to sort of bridge the gap until we ship that functionality, would be to use Forge to bridge that gap, right? So you could, Jira Align has a REST API, so you could create actions that query, the things that you would need to theoretically do in Align. Whether that be taking actions, providing data, or what have you. Out of the box right now, there isn't a native connection, but there are workarounds if needs be. Another just sort of general workaround that can be used is also within automation for Jira. If you have a trigger that is like an event happens in Jira Align, and you capture that, then that can send information to a Rovo agent and send back a response that maybe suggests like a suggestion, set some custom field values, something like that. The combination of the automation platform and Rovo agents together has been really, really fun to work with, and it's really powerful without having to write any code at all.
Yeah.
Just to add to that one, so regarding Jira Align, you can treat Jira Align as an external service. So with Forge, you can use the basic fetch client, do an HTTP call to your Jira Align. Yep. So that's I think a pattern that will work. Jira Align also gives you the ability to use basic auth and I believe a bearer token. You can just pass it to the header and send your request.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Diane. And I think Adam and I, we've been chatting as well about the possibility of, getting some of the Jira line data as part of the teamwork graph. Please correct me, like if I'm not saying the right acronym here. TWG,
You're right.
teamwork graph. So via the REST API, it's possible to have Rovo have access to all the Jira line data as soon as that's part of TWG Teamwork Graph.
It's coming.
I love when features are coming. Something for people to be excited about. And there was a new roadmap session that was also posted on our Atlassian developer YouTube channel in case anyone wants to check that out. And it shows a lot of the great things that are coming to Forge. I watched that today. So make sure you check that out. Any last thoughts from you all? Katerina, Alex, Jen?
Oh. Join us again.
I would be curious, from the Jira admins in the chat here, like, is this something you realistically think that you would try to use in production? And also, like, what other sorts of features within here you would find useful? We're toying with the idea of open sourcing this, or trying to create it as a native agent. So, any feedback on different similar features we could add, or, whether or not you find this useful would definitely be helpful for us driving that.
And how could someone get in contact with you? What's the best way to get in contact with you, Jen, Alex, and Katerina, if someone were to watch this later on?
Oh, I'm not gonna post my email address on YouTube.
No, don't do that. Maybe look them up. Maybe look you guys up on LinkedIn, send a DM, something like that. Yeah, I think that would be the best. Or post on our community as well, right? Our developer community. I'm sure you guys are on there answering questions and interacting as well.
Yeah, and specifically on this topic, like, if anyone wants to follow up, has some follow-up questions that they only think about this like later, please post on the community post so you can add a comment there. I'm watching it, so I'll try to get back to you.
And just for those that needed a reminder about our community, it's right here. So you can go to this URL under events. Our URL under network. The go.atlassian.com/dev-community, and that will take you to our community page. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much to our guests for joining us, and thank you so much to everyone in the chat. This has been very, very informative. So thanks, Jen. Thank you, Alex. Thanks, Katerina. And thank you, Adam. And Ian, do you have any final thoughts? You have an upcoming Forge Dev Din, right, that you're planning and working on?
Yes, it's still in the works. I'm working with the internal team, and it's about a new feature in Confluence. I'm not sure if the information has been released yet. It's going on EAP, but please watch the ACE page, and we're gonna post something up in the coming weeks.
All right. Something for everyone to be excited about. And we see all your thank yous in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for showing us all your appreciation. And we hope to see you next time on our YouTube channel. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, have a nice day.